Do I need my microphone?
You shouldn't, no, not when I'm this close.
Yeah. So today I have some good news about relationships. First of all, we need to face the fact, I think, that a satisfying relationship requires work. This past week, when I was studying our gospel story, I came across this little piece in one of my books. Preaching Jesus' words as abstract legal principles that codify traditional patriarchal forms of marital and family relationships actually negates the underlying disruptive and revolutionary social dimensions of God's inbreaking reign, which Jesus proclaims in our gospel story and enacts as well. The trajectory of the story, this is the piece I really want you to hear, is toward greater equality for and radical hospitality toward those who are most oppressed. Preachers should thus take this trajectory seriously, asking what social structures and assumptions that oppress people, particularly women and children, need to be disrupted and challenged in our own time. Such a trajectory will enable the preacher to proclaim the unsettling reign of God that animates Jesus' words and deeds. A week ago, when I married Mara and Riley, right here in this worship space, I challenged them to solve the problem of life together. That's an interesting thing, don't you think, to say to a couple about to be married? But life together can be a problem, and certainly is a challenge. I asked them to make it a point during their married life to practice the great graces of which Paul speaks, especially in those times in their life together when one of them is stronger or weaker than the other. We all surely know by now that there are no perfect people in this world. We're all sinners. And when you have two imperfect people in a relationship, yes, there are going to be problems. But a satisfying relationship is almost impossible without total commitment on the part of everyone involved. A satisfying relationship doesn't come without work, attention. It doesn't come without commitment. People come into most relationships with all kinds of baggage. For example, we see mom and dad relating to one another and to others, and consciously or unconsciously, we end up imitating them. Sometimes parents are good role models, sometimes they're horrendous role models on how people ought to interact. Some people, by their very nature, are simply insensitive to others. Caring about or connecting with another human being requires commitment. It also requires one other thing. I think a satisfying relationship of any kind requires the presence of God. When I think about the weddings that we had during the month of August and September, and the brides in those three weddings, such wonderful, gifted people. Very, very interesting. Riley, who lives now in South Dakota, she's a physical therapist. Kristen, I can't remember if she lives in South Dakota or here in Iowa, but she's a veterinarian, also very, very talented. Mara lives now in Estherville. She's a special education teacher. So what do those three brides have in common? Each of the three of them made the spiritual component of their wedding and really of their marriage a priority. Ultimately, our gospel story today is saying, yes, those three women are on the right track. That's the key to success, isn't it? To make God a vital part, really, of whatever it is you're up to. Two people who are committed to one another, who are genuinely committed to God, will usually find a way to make their relationship work. The Pharisees in this situation, meaning in our gospel story, were trying to put Jesus in a tight spot. What they got instead was a beautiful and touching affirmation of relationships as they all were meant to be. They take work, and that takes the grace of God. Amen.